tell the story. You tell the whole damn world this is their territory.
Let's go. There you go. Let's go. Welcome to Tell the Whole Damn World, the podcast for Golden Bear fans. If you're like us and are unabashedly and unapologetically all about Cal, then you found the right place. Before we begin, we want to wish a belated happy birthday to the University of California. Just yesterday, on March 23rd, a short 157 years ago to the day, our beloved university was founded. And here in Berkeley, I can tell you it's an absolutely gorgeous day. As Bud Turner would say, it's another great day to be a bear. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Reza Serafinejad, and as I always like to say, if you're associated with the University of California, you're one of the luckiest people on this planet. Never forget that. It's the first full week of spring 2025, and Ahmad Anderson and I have another fun one for you today. In this week's episode, we get to know Meagan and Ernest Owusu. Meagan is the head coach of Cal's top 10 ranked beach volleyball team. What's that? You didn't know Cal had a beach volleyball team? And an amazing one at that? Well, believe it. And they're doing great things this season. And her husband, Ernest, played tackle football as a defensive end under Jeff Tedford. Together, they're a Golden Bear family through and through. And you're going to love hearing their stories about what Cal means to them. And in our weekly Cal History segment with Leslie Mitchell, we're pulling one out from deep in the archives. Do you know who the first woman was to be admitted to and to graduate from the University of California? It's a pretty good story, so stay tuned to find out. But first, let's take a look at what's going on in the world of Cal sports. It was another action-packed weekend. First up, congratulations to the Cal baseball team. For the first time in recorded history, the California Golden Bears swept the 14th-ranked Stanford Cardinal in a 3-game series on the farm. We couldn't be happier for head coach and former Tell the Whole Damn World featured guest Mike New, who must still be grinning ear to ear. Cal is now 13-10 on the season, 5-4 in the ACC, and have won 4 games in a row. The Cal varsity rugby team beat St. Mary's 48-45 in an epic regular season finale at a sold-out Witter Rugby Field. The Golden Bears will now find out their postseason seeding for the Division 1A National Collegiate Championship, with the first round slated to begin April 5th. And don't look now, but Cal tennis is on a rampage. The men's and women's teams flew back east and have been laying waste to the ACC. The number 14 men beat number 6 Virginia 4-3, and then scorched Virginia Tech 7-0 to move to 13-2 this season, 6-2 in the ACC. Meanwhile, the 26th ranked women are certain to move way up in the rankings after they absolutely crushed number 2 Virginia 4-1, and then throttled Virginia Tech 6-1. The women have now won 8 straight, are 9-4 overall, and sport a flawless 6-0 record in conference. The number 6 women's gymnastics team came in second place at the ACC Championships, posting a 197.650. Sensational senior Maya Lazan, another former Tell the Whole Damn World featured guest, took home a share of 3 titles and was awarded ACC Gymnast of the Year. Elizabeth Crandall Howell and Justin Howell were named co-head coaches of the year. The Golden Bears now await Monday's selection show to find out where they will be heading for its NCAA Regional, which will take place on either April 4th or 5th. And it was an incredible season for the Cal women's basketball team, but their postseason ended abruptly in a loss to Mississippi State in the first round of the NCAA tournament. The Golden Bears fell behind 9-1 to open the game and never recovered. They finished the season with a 25-9 record and capped their season by making the NCAAs for the first time since 2019. Meanwhile, the men's basketball team will presumably lose both heralded freshmen Jeremiah Wilkinson and B.J. Ahmad to the dreaded transfer portal. But as my co-host always likes to remind me, when one door closes, another door opens. We'll wait to see what the transfer portal has in store for the men's basketball team heading into next season. In aquatic sports, the number 5 women's water polo team was handed its first home loss of the season, falling to number 2 USC 13-8. They're now 13-3 overall, 1-2 in conference. And the women's swimming and diving team took 8th place in the overall team standings at the 2025 NCAA Championships. That's the highest finish in 3 years. Senior Leah Polonsky finished her collegiate career in style, earning first-team All-America honors in 3 different events. The softball team lost its first series of the season, losing 2 of 3 over the weekend to number 23 Virginia on the road. But they won the last game 12-3, picking up their first ranked win this year and handing the Cavaliers their first home loss of the season. The Golden Bears are now 23-7 overall, 6-3 in the ACC. The aforementioned number 9 beach volleyball team won 3 of 4 at the East versus West Invitational in Austin, Texas, narrowly losing to number 12 LSU, but bouncing back to beat number 10 Texas, number 20 Florida International, and number 18 Georgia State. They're now 14-6 this season and have won 7 matchups against ranked teams. And did you know there's a pretty incredible track athlete we have by the name of Johnny B. Good? He ran the 200-meter dash in 20.71 seconds at the Hornet Invitational at Sacramento State. That's the fastest time by a Cal sprinter in 37 years and ranks 3rd all-time in program history. And Lucija Leko, a sophomore from Croatia, in her first outdoor meet as a Golden Bear, inked her name in the all-time Cal record book, notching the number 4 spots in both shot put and discus. And finally, in what may very well count as the biggest news of all in Cal sports news, it's official. Ron Rivera is the new GM of the Cal football program. Golden Bear fans around the world couldn't be more excited. Up next, we'll learn about the very first woman to be admitted to the University of California way back in 1871. Despite losing an arm when she was young, she didn't let anything stand in her way. Our Cal History segment with Leslie Mitchell is up next. And after that, we'll have a lot of fun talking beach volleyball and the glory years of football under Jeff Tedford with Meagan and Ernest Owusu.
This week in Cal History.
By now, I'm sure all of you know Leslie Mitchell. Leslie, class of 1981, is a third-generation Cal alum and lifelong Golden Bear fan who writes articles about notable people associated with our university. You can visit her website, calbearshistory.com, or follow her on Twitter, or X if you so choose, where she posts stories of interesting students, faculty, and alums. We love having Leslie as part of the show. She's a wonderful resource when it comes to learning more about people associated with our university who have gone on to do great things in this world. Today, as part of Women's History Month, we're going to learn more about the very first woman to ever be admitted and to graduate from the University of California, Rosa Scrivener. Welcome again to the show, Leslie.
Well, thank you, Reza. I appreciate you having me. Rosa Scrivener was quite a remarkable woman. Well, let's go back to the university itself. It was founded in, as we all know, Charter Day, March 23rd, 1868, university's chartered. The first class gets admitted 1869, all men, 24 men, I believe, 12 of whom ultimately graduated. Then the following year, just the second year that this university was in existence, the regents passed a resolution unanimously stating that young ladies shall be admitted on equal terms in all respect to young men, which was a big deal.
That's groundbreaking. I mean, really, truly groundbreaking for that era.
Well,
right? When you consider,
I would say that there were a lot of public universities in the sort of the western part of the United States. By West, I mean like by the Mississippi River. Back then was considered the West. Michigan and those sorts of Illinois, where they did admit women before Cal even, existed. The East Coast, not at all. The East Coast remained extremely male only in terms of schools. And then if they started opening a few women's only colleges, but it was still very early on. And I love that we did it like immediately. There didn't appear to have to be any fighting about it. From what I've read historically, pioneer societies are where women tend to have more equal rights, and more traditional societies are more reluctant. It takes them longer. For example, the first place where women got the right to vote, the first country, was New Zealand in the 1890s. So, it took France until 1945. So the more established countries take their time, whereas I think women tend to have more power in pioneer societies.
Well, yeah, and I can imagine in those days, I mean, it was all hands on deck. It's not like the wife or mother of the family could just sit there while the father maybe tried to do everything. It's like everybody's got to pitch in and get their hands dirty and do things. And then you see like, it's not like there's this special magic thing about being a man that only a man can do this or a man can do that.
Right.
And so that probably led into that.
And talking about a pioneer, Rosa, I think, qualifies in all respects, not just by being the first woman at Cal. She was born in Missouri in, I believe, 1851. And when she was about 9 years old, her parents decided they wanted to move to California. And they got their covered wagon and they joined a wagon train and they headed off across that long trek across the country to California, which is, the stuff of legends in American history. And along the way, there was a fight with a group of Native Americans in which Rosa's arm got shot. I don't know whether it was with a gun or an arrow. I like to think an arrow because that would be cool. But anyway, her arm had to be amputated. So she's 9 years old, and she lost one of her arms.
Wow. I mean, that is the Wild West, to be sure.
It would have been around 1860. Before the railroad. So she made it. They all made it to California eventually and settled in Stockton, where she grew up. And then she discovered that the University of California, everyone discovered that it had been created, and decided to enroll as soon as she heard that women are being admitted. I mean, like lickety split, the regents voted on October 3rd to admit women, and she was in that class that year. So I don't know whether she had applied, and that's what maybe prompted them to pass that resolution admitting young women, but she enrolled in 1870.
And yeah, that's a trailblazing story. Not only just to make it across the country in covered wagon and to make it out, and then to apply and get admitted to Cal at that era. I'm thinking about my own mom, and this is back in the early 1960s when she came to graduate school here at Cal, and she was in the sciences, and she was faced with some degree of, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. Your time would be better spent learning how to cook and clean.
And you're taking a man's spot, I'm sure. That was always a thing that got said.
Right, but that's 1960, and you're talking about 1870.
Yes.
That's incredible to me. It just blows my mind.
Well, and apparently she got quite a bit of pushback, as you might imagine. There's a great article that I found from the San Francisco Chronicle from 1901, and they were looking back from 1901, looking back to the olden days when women were brand new at the University of California, and they interviewed. Not only did they talk about Rosa, but they interviewed the next three women who graduated after her in 1876, about what life was like. And the consensus among all of them was it was okay. There was a little bit of harassment, but nothing terrible. Some guys, they got a lot of the, what are you doing here? You're weird or strange. Why do you want to even go to the university? But in fact, there's a story one of these ladies, Hattie Hodgson, told about taking her final exams, and the professor, who really didn't want her there, came into the room and just stood directly behind her, and for the entire time she was taking the exam, sort of looming over her to make her feel awkward and uncomfortable. There's another story that a couple of them told about in the middle of class. They come out of class and the young men had stolen all of their hats and cloaks and hidden them away somewhere because they thought that was a hilarious joke to pull. Yeah, some things never change, but But
Sounds like something you do in elementary school.
exactly. But on balance, I mean, if that's the worst that they had, it wasn't as bad as you might imagine it might have been. And a lot of them said
Right.
that, the men were generally fine. Some of them were very supportive. Most of them were like, we don't care. And some of them were annoyed and took this position of, you're taking a man's place here.
Right. Well, I just think that the idea of the University of California admitting women as early as they did on equal terms,
In all
100%,
respects. Yes.
in all respects, right, that stands in such stark contrast to the Ivy League schools and Stanford. And I guess you may have some notes to share on that, but if I understand things correctly, Stanford actually did start to admit women as soon as it was founded in 1891.
Right.
But shortly after that, Jane Stanford, the widow of Leland, felt that it was unseemly or not appropriate for women to be for there to be so many women.
It wasn't that she didn't think women
campus,
should be there, but she was afraid that it was going to be overwhelmed by too many women at the school. They were still a minority of the students, but she said, well, I don't want us to become the Vassar of the West. She didn't want to become a women's college. So she imposed a blanket cap of 500 women students at Stanford at any one time, which wasn't that bad when she put it into effect, but she put it right in the bylaws or whatever they're called, that, the founding documents of the university. So it became binding on it in future years. And as the population of students grew, the women's portion became less and less and less, until there were like 5-to-1 men to women, and a huge waiting list for qualified women to get admitted. And that lasted until the Great Depression, when the financial pressures required them to let in some women who could pay. And I think they upped it to 40% of the class could be women. They didn't finally get rid of all limits on women students until 1973.
Can you imagine 1973? That just is incredible to me to think. And I think it was some quote that you may have to share from Susan B. Anthony way back in the early 1900s.
She wrote to Jane Stanford and said that, I forget, a thrill of horror goes through me or something like that this should happen because of a woman's doing, referring to the cap on women students. Although, to be fair to Stanford, they weren't nearly as bad as the Ivy League schools. I remember when I was looking at colleges in the 70s, considering applying to colleges, Harvard still didn't admit women, period. No women, not undergraduates. I think by then they let them into some of the graduate programs. And the last Ivy League school that began admitting women was Columbia in 1983.
1983.
Right. By which time I was already in law school. So it's like, wow. It's mind-boggling that it was that recent. Yeah.
It seems just a little backwards. I thought it was also a very interesting story that you shared with me, that going back to these 3 women who were interviewed in the classes that followed Rosa, that one of the 3, I guess it was in 1873, there was some debate, and the university still didn't have colors. The colors of the university still had not been decided.
Only been around for like 3-4 years by then, the university. So they hadn't gotten to it, but choosing colors yet. Yes.
And so there was this strong opinion amongst a lot of people on campus that it should be blue to represent Yale, since so many of the faculty at that time at Cal were from Yale. But then there was another division that was very strongly of the opinion that it should be gold for the Golden State. And I can't remember the name of the woman.
Elizabeth Bragg.
Elizabeth Bragg.
She was between her freshman and sophomore years, and she was at this meeting, and she said, why not both? And of course, the woman comes up with the compromise. Oh, that's a stereotype. But yeah, so that's how we became blue and gold. So good for Elizabeth Bragg, who, by the way, was majoring in civil engineering.
And that just is incredible to me, right? 1873 and studying civil engineering. That's pretty impressive too.
It was a class of 1876, so it had 3 women. One of the other women was named Sarah Shuey, And she went on and got her medical degree in 1878 from the brand new, what they called then the medical department of the university, which is now UCSF. And she became a practicing physician in Oakland for decades and was the first woman elected president of the Alameda County Medical Association. So it was a pretty impressive group of young women. And by the way, Rosa Scrivener, our pioneer of all, her degree was in agriculture, which is also another sort of non-traditional, you would think, degree for a woman. And in fact, my local newspaper, the Sacramento Bee, had sort of a snarky article about that, saying that it was such a novelty that a young woman would engage in agricultural pursuits. They published that when she graduated.
Rosa went on to run a ranch, I guess, with her husband. But then when her husband passed away, she took care of everything to do with the ranch. And then
up in Modoc County, out in the middle of nowhere, in a little town that I looked it up, and today it has a population of 83. So it was definitely in the boonies.
I mean, it's just so impressive to me to think that she did all this in that era. And with one arm.
Right. A woman with one arm running a ranch up in Modoc County. It sounds like something they'd make a TV show or a movie about or something.
And I mean, I know we don't have confirmation on this, but it would seem to me that she could very well have been the first disabled student admitted to Cal as well. Although the term disabled certainly doesn't seem to apply to her in any way, shape, or form.
No, absolutely not. And her daughter married and moved back to the Bay Area. And then Rosa eventually, when she became older, moved back and moved in with her daughter in Oakland, where she passed away in 1914. But what a life.
What a trailblazer. That's for sure. Talk about a pioneer.
Literally.
That's right. Well, hey, thank you so much, Leslie. We really appreciate that story. That was pretty inspiring, that's for sure. And hey, I guess we look forward to hearing another tale from the past when we talk to you again next week, huh?
We do. At least I do. All right. We'll see you next week then. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Wasn't that cool to learn about Rosa Scrivener? It's hard for any of us to imagine how hard life must have been in that era. And I can only imagine it must have been that much more difficult given the loss of her arm. I'd have to think she would be very proud to know that more than 1 million women have followed in her footsteps and have been admitted to what has become the preeminent institution of higher learning on the planet. And one more note to share on Elizabeth Bragg, the woman credited with the blue and gold colors we love so dearly. She also happened to be the very first woman to get a civil engineering degree in the country in 1876. Up next, Ahmad Anderson, the man who gave us the Bear Territory cheer, will join me, and together we will welcome Meagan and Ernest Owusu to the show as our featured guests.
One of the most awesome things about doing this podcast is having the opportunity to meet and get to know like-minded people who share a tremendous passion for Cal. And a wonderful example of that includes our featured guests this week, Meagan and Ernest Owusu. Meagan is the head coach of Cal's top 10 ranked beach volleyball team, and Ernest played football for Cal under legendary head coach Jeff Tedford. As a player at Cal, Meagan helped take the Golden Bears to 2 Final Four appearances in indoor volleyball, and thanks to her, there's a lot of excitement brewing for the Golden Bears beach volleyball team these days. And Ernest was a standout at defensive end for the Golden Bears, who racked up 14 tackles for loss and 8 sacks, and earned first-team Pac-12 all-academic honors. He was the football team's Dink Arnold Award winner as a senior on the defensive side of the ball as the player best exemplifying Cal's spirit. They met one another at Cal, fell in love, and now have triplets. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you two making the time.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Love talking about the Bears.
That's what we love to hear.
Hey, look, this is exciting. I mean, this is the first couple we've had on. It's always a Bear love fest, no matter who's on the show. But this is the first. This is the one, and that excites me. that you're able to take a little time to share with us about your experiences at Cal. Look, Coach Meagan, you're from the Bay. I live not far from you. I'm in Richmond, where you right across the Bay. But look, your roots are crazy deep in Bear territory. I mean, you got mom and dad, your brother and uncle, and you cover the sports arena from cross country to track to crew. Look, was there any pressure to come to Cal?
Surprisingly, no, honestly. I think really in my mind, there was never another option. I think it really stemmed from just kind of wanting to be my mom when I grew up. But I also, one of the top volleyball clubs in the area was actually, we played in the RSF at Cal. And so in high school, I was going over there twice a week and getting to play on campus. It was like a second home to me. And I think, being from Marin County, while it is close, it is a lot different. And so just being exposed to the energy and that diversity and just the overall feeling at Cal, let alone Cal athletics and the program that Rich Feller had built, it was a no-brainer. It was an absolute no-brainer. But yeah, I wouldn't say that mom and dad put any pressure on. I think it just kind of fell into place. So super, super fortunate.
Right on. That's some good stuff. I know the feeling a little bit. My mom went there as getting her master's, and my father was a visiting professor there. So it's there and kind of hovers around it. So yeah, it was like right there. So you made the right call. We made the right call. That's what Bear Territory is all about.
There you go.
Now, you were a pretty darn good player when you were on the volleyball team under Coach Feller, and you took the team to 2 Final Fours, and I think also 2 appearances in the Elite Eight, right, in your 4 years, and you're the defensive captain. So when did you realize that you'd be a pretty good coach, and how did it all come together for you to become the head coach at Cal?
First and foremost, Rich Feller has been one of the, if not the most influential coaches in my life. He took a chance on me, and I ended up walking onto the team as a freshman. And then by my sophomore year, I had a full ride and was a captain and a starter by the time I left Cal. But I wouldn't say by any stretch that I was close to being the best player on that team, with Carly Lloyd, Olympian, Tara Murray, who's now Tara Semyon, who obviously you guys know, married to Marcus Semyon. Just a stud team. And so I was fortunate just to have that opportunity. And then right after graduating, immediately went down and started coaching in Los Angeles at LMU. My mom had been a coach for 30 years. I am very, very competitive, love competing at any opportunity, and just love working for something. And so I started coaching at LMU. And then we started the beach program, the first ever beach year that it was a collegiate sport. Loved it down there, getting immersed in the beach volleyball world down in Los Angeles. Got my master's at LMU while I was coaching, and it was awesome to see what a small private school was like. But once you're part of the Berkeley environment, I just needed to get back home. And so I was always in Rich's ear asking if he was going to start a beach program. And he said, "Hey, Meagan, you can come start the beach program. I'll pay you $0 an hour, and you're going to start it up on the Clark Kerr courts." And he suggested maybe I work at Starbucks while I do it, just kind of figure it out. No scholarships, no athletes, no money, moving back to mom and dad's house. And I was like, heck yeah, let's go. And I was so fired up. And here we are 10 years later. And I mean, it's just so cool to see where it's gone. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I just love it. I love it so much. And I think that was really the turning point of like, oh, I can be a good coach. It's feeling how much joy it brings me to lead this team, to compete, and to just build those relationships.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you were born to be a coach. And from what you just talked about, you immediately went into coaching right after being a player. So, I mean, it certainly seems like you were lucky enough to know what you wanted to do and you went for it, and look where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew I wanted to stay in the sport. Volleyball has been everything to me. I've kind of found it on my own and have been obsessed with it since I was, I think, 10 years old. And at the time, I know you guys probably see like there's a lot of domestic pro leagues in the area now. But at the time, if we wanted to play or continue to be in the sport, it meant going to other countries all around the world. And so this was a great opportunity for me to stay in a sport I loved while making a career out of it. So very fortunate.
Tell me about the transitioning from indoor to beach. Tell me what that's like. That seems super exhausting.
Yeah. So going from indoor to beach, there's a lot to it. I think the easiest example is Alex Kleinman. She just was our recent gold medalist, not this last Olympics, but the Olympics before. And I hate to say this, she did play indoor for Stanford, but that's beside the point. When she decided to go from indoor, she was playing at the highest level, kind of dabbling on the national team indoor. She went onto the beach, and our professional league is called the AVP. And you have a qualifier to get into that, which isn't even like the main event. And she got beat in that first round of the qualifier. And this is one of the world's best indoor players. But you go into the sand and it really is a very different game. You have to be a lot more well-versed in all of the skills. So indoor, you take a middle blocker. They have to block, they have to hit, and like that's their job. But on the beach, you have to pass, you have to know how to set, you have to know how to hit, you have to know how to be a exceptional server. And then, we take this past weekend, we went down to Manhattan Beach and it's pouring and there's this offshore wind. And so we have to learn, okay, how can I play this game and be successful with wind, with two people? So it's a lot more well-rounded, a lot less specialized. And the cardiovascular piece of it is involved as well.
Yeah. I can only imagine that's a heck of a challenge. And it's all an uneven surface and to get your footing and then how to elevate and jump. And
yeah,
my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. I think and it's a natural transition for anyone that is obsessed with the game. Like you get to do everything, right? You get to do all the skills. It is interesting in the dynamic that while it is a team sport, so I'm coaching a team of 20 athletes right now. The way that beach volleyball is played is you have 5 pairs that compete. And in order to win the duel, you have to win 3 out of those 5. So it's a team sport, but it's also, I'm coaching pairs. When we work with our sports psychologist, Dr. Greg Chow, he's working with my athletes as individuals. He's working with them as pairs. And then he's also addressing our whole team as like a team culture. So it's a really cool dynamic in that you get to work with like a lot of different ideas and strategy. And yeah, I love it. It's awesome.
That's good stuff. That's good.
And now you're already in your 9th season as head coach. That seems unbelievable. Time has just flown by, right? And
yeah,
I guess what would you say have been some of your coaching highlights?
Yeah, I think that first season coming back to Cal and just like Ernie, he and I were just talking. I think it might have been like yesterday, honestly, had nothing to do with this podcast, but we were talking about how, if you were to coach for like a different school or people that coach for like places that weren't their alma mater, how hard it would be to like really bleed whatever school it is. Say it's like Texas. It'd be so hard for us to say hook 'em, but like how much of a gift it is that we get to coach for the Bears. And like I say we, because he's just as much involved in my coaching experience. Absolutely. But so to answer your question, I think just that first season going from being at another school to coming home was like, my job is to coach a team at Cal. This is a dream come true. Beating Stanford, we have a winning record against Stanford, that country club over there. Love beating Stanford. We beat SC. And, I mentioned these programs. One of the things that does make us strong at Cal is, you talk about our Clark Kerr facility, 2 courts. We are still underfunded from a scholarship perspective, but we just upset the number 3 team in the country, USC, who's been fully funded for 10 years. Yeah. And so I'd say like nothing brings me more joy than beating programs that, on paper may have the glitz and the glam, the LSUs, the Florida States, the USCs, and just having that blue collar gold swagger, that mentality. outworking teams, outculturing teams. Yeah, I mean, competing just gives me goosebumps. So whenever we get to beat a team that maybe is expected to do better than us, it's awesome. The first year we made it to NCAAs was a huge deal. And then from there, we've just kind of kept building. We have big goals for this season, but yeah, I honestly, too many to count.
You're talking about a lot of exciting things, but I think for me, for a guy who had some academic challenges when I first came to Cal, I mean, I went to a college prep high school not far away, St. Mary's over here in Albany, and the college prep school. And I walked around there like I was big stuff. I had a little briefcase and everything, and bam, punched right in the nose, academic probation, subject to dismissal my spring semester. And all along, I walked on to the football team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like I was drowning. I thought I had it all together. But I found my way. I became a peer advisor for other student athletes. I never stopped going to summer school after that period of time. By my junior and senior year, I was probably taking a very super light load with all my other stuff out the way. So I am super impressed and super proud about the Newmark Award, two times for having the highest cumulative GPA among all sports at Cal. I think that's absolutely amazing. I know it's a tremendous feat because of what we do as student athletes in the classroom, and also persevere on the field, on the track, in our sport, whatever it is on the court. Those are things that folks don't really understand. But it's with great pride to know that you are a part of that you lead in that way. Share with me what that feels like for you, hearing that, earning that award, but watching those young women hit those marks and be successful.
Yeah, that was well said. You're like, I know. I think it's become part of our culture, which is nice. When you come in as a freshman, the sophomores, juniors, and seniors are really setting an expectation, bringing them in, telling them like, hey, take these classes. I do think it's become part of our culture. So something that I consistently say to my athletes is, we're at the #1 public school in the world. You must go after what you are interested in. If you want to be a doctor, or you say you want to, apply for a Haas, go for it. You may have to change majors. You may need to, get some extra tutors. You may have to change your path, but it is a golden opportunity that you must take advantage of. And I know that you all want to be Olympians. I know that you all want to be on the national team and win a national championship, but at some point we are going to have to invest in something other than volleyball. And they've been great with that. More than anything, it's a golden opportunity, and it's our responsibility to push them to not just make the safe decisions, but really go after what they're interested in.
You're an all-star in my book, Coach. That's 100%.
Absolutely. So now, for this year's team, you've got them in the top 10. What would you like people to know about this year's team in particular? And you said you had some high hopes.
Yeah, I'd say we have the most depth that we've had ever, which is really exciting. It makes my job very difficult. And I've had to be very clear about roles and where our athletes are at a given moment, and how each athlete can continue to get better regardless of where they are at in the lineup. And so I'd say depth is really exciting. And I would also say our ones pair is a really fun pair to watch. Emma Donnelly and Portia Sherman, they're getting recognition, probably the most recognitions we've had. Portia Sherman's one of the best athletes I've ever had in my program. She can do it all. And then Emma Donnelly is 6'4", but has the coordination, like she can pass, she can set. They both have ridiculous jump serves. And so it's been fun having our ones pair really battle with the top teams in the country. And then we have our captains are some of the strongest leaders that we've had: Sierra Caffo, Gia Fisher, and Mary Lou Pally. Sierra Caffo is a 6th year. She transferred from LSU, and now she's in Derek Van Rienen's Masters of Education. So that's been a great opportunity to get some grad athletes into Cal and into our program. So she's a 6th year at Cal, and then Gia and Mary Lou are juniors. So I'd say we have a veteran crew, which is cool because they know our expectations, they know how we communicate, and so we can really just continue to push each other and push them.
I mean, I'm taking a look at your record this season, and it's like in nearly every loss you've had, you've taken it all the way down to the wire. I mean, it's been 3-2.
Remind me,
right?
Huh?
Sorry, but I mean, it just goes to show just how you are battling, and you are right there. It's pretty impressive stuff.
I mean, you're right. We've had dual point, I think, on, number 1, UCLA, number 5, Stanford a few weeks ago, FSU. I think the message at this point in the season is, we got to get it back to practice and find a way to get 2 points better.
Sure.
Yeah,
but that's a good sting, Yeah. That's a good sting. Yeah. It takes me right back to where I was. I could not wait either to take it out on the next team because they were watching that film and thinking they could, run the ball my way or throw the ball against me that way, or can't wait to see that team next year because it's not going to happen like it did last year.
Absolutely.
It's a whole different game. So that's the inspiration. It's a sting that you don't want to erase. I always tell my guys that I've coached, remember that feeling.
Yeah.
And remember how you don't want to feel that way again.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things about our program is we've gotten better each and every season. We're now very process focused. And so this is kind of where we get to test that. Like, okay, if we are really process focused, let's continue to build on this. We are going to be peaking at NCAAs. Something cool about our film software is I can go in and see who's been watching film, and I can see like this is the most film I've had any squad watch, and so they're hungry to get better, and I'm just excited to keep working with them.
That's great. Yeah, that's a good sign for sure. Yeah. And you kind of just led into this next question where you said, you're getting better each and every year as a program. And how excited are you about the new beach volleyball complex that's planning to start construction outside Edwards Track? And when are they planning to break ground on that?
Yeah, so very soon. We're actually getting the details together for that groundbreaking ceremony. I've been told May. So what are we? It's March. So March, April, May, we're close. But yeah, just from a sheer training perspective, I have 20 athletes. We have 3 courts up at Clark Kerr. At this new facility, we will have 5 courts. So just like if everything was status quo, my athletes are immediately going to get significantly more reps and also more game-like reps because it'll be 2-on-2 rather than having like 6 or 7 athletes on the court. So that's huge. I'll be able to host invitationals. So we'll be able to get national recognition with, just like the track meets, right? They host Brutus Hamilton. We can host big invitationals. We'll have a team room, a locker room, coaches' offices. So from a recruiting perspective, a student athlete experience perspective, hosting events, hosting alumni back. The list goes on. Exactly. It's thrilling. It is a long time coming. Jim Nolan has been our biggest fighter in getting this done. He's been outstanding. Biggest fighter in a positive way, not fighting against, fighting with. No, he's been outstanding. And every time he sees our team, every time he sees me, he knows that's the first thing I'm talking about. And he's out. He led our gender equity campaign to fundraise for both, our facility as well as softball. And his investment in just the female sports is outstanding. And obviously, specifically beach volleyball.
Nice. Well, that's great. Yeah, we can't wait to see it. That'll be wonderful. And I've seen the plans, and it looks like it's going to be just beautiful. Taking a parking lot now and turning it into something pretty spectacular. Yeah, I think that's going to be a big recruiting tool.
Kind of like the main entrance to campus. We get to be close to other sports on campus. I think I'm just so excited for our team to get to have that experience, get the even just like the foot traffic. There's a bunch of food, the BART's right there. So I'm excited for some pretty awesome events.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, hey, I hate that, we've had just Ernest sitting there patiently waiting here. So we finally have a question kind of for both of you here, but take us through, like, okay, so you guys met each other at Cal and fell in love. And I mean, how in the world do you handle triplets? I mean, my wife and I have a 6-year-old daughter, and it's like, it just takes all of our time, it seems, just to raise one, but to raise 3, it just seems like, and to have careers seems, my hat's off to you.
Yeah, I mean,
take it away.
I'll say it definitely takes a village. So Megan's family's out here, my sister's out here. Like, we're all constantly coordinating, communicating, trying to find ways to get each other help. But what I will say, though, conveniently with Megan's sport, there's no better babysitter than a beach. So like if we're on a beach with 3 kids, they just run around and wreak havoc and have a lot of fun, and we just kind of sit back and watch. So conveniently, having triplets at this age with the sport she plays actually works out really well. But again, as you can imagine, a lot of coordination. Sometimes I'm only with the kids, and when I have stuff, Megan's with the kids, and her family comes in and helps out. But we make it work because we have a village. That's most thing.
Right on. I'm gonna tell my lady you said that too, because every time we go to the beach, first thing I do is nod out. Look, since we're segueing in this incredible couple that we have, these superheroes, these super parents, super athletes, you came to Cal, Ernest, from Tennessee.
I did.
24 scholarship offers, and you became a Bear. I got no offers, and I became a Bear. So tell me where we meet at that bridge right there. Yeah. Tell me how you made that decision, man. Because I got a lot of family in Nashville, and my 2 sons, my 2 younger sons, on the Army base in Clarksville.
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about that, Grand Ole Opry and a couple of things down that way. Tell me how you got here.
Honestly, so I will say, I always thought that, coming out here, I'd eventually go back to Tennessee. But once you come out to the Bay, it's really hard to get away from here. So that didn't work out. So that was part of the plan to eventually go back. But again, I fell in love with everything over here. Honestly, it was a very easy decision. If you think about, like, at the time, just been co-Pac-10 champions. Aaron Rodgers had been first rounder. Marshawn was about to go out. All these great athletes, not to mention the fact that this is the best public university in the world. Why would I not have, taken this offer very seriously? So, I will say, like, I didn't really know. Like, I heard of Cal. I didn't know it was UC Berkeley out in Tennessee, but I had to kind of figure that out on my trip. I also didn't really know what Berkeley was and all the craziness that comes with it.
Welcome to Berkeley.
Yeah. So that was definitely a surprise. But honestly, it was a no-brainer, because if you think about it, like, to have that many offers, I was obviously really good at football. I was highly recruited. I also was someone who excelled academically. And if I could find a way to hone in those 2 things into one place, there really was no better choice. And, I came to school, I loved it. And, it was the rest was history. It was a pretty easy decision for me.
We love hearing that.
And enjoyed all your accolades as well, my friend.
Exactly. It was great. I mean, again, like, I will say, I originally thought I'd go back to Tennessee because I love Tennessee. My family's out there. My friends are out there. But again, once you come out to the Bay and experience it, as you all know, there's really no turning back. So the rest is history.
Well, as you lead into that, lean into some of the highlights moments when you were a player. Tell me, like, it hit you, bam, oh, I'm in this.
So fun fact, this is like a really weird thing about my, like, athletic career in football. I don't know why. I don't know if you ever had this, Ahmad, but, like, every single time at kickoff, because I played defensive end, so I was going to go on the field. Every single time there was kickoff, I was like, see the ball in there. I'm like, man, how did I get here? Like, how did I actually get here? Because I'm looking in the crowd. I see it's a packed stadium. You hear the band playing. I see the ball. Once I'm going to the field, I'm like, I can't believe that I'm actually here. So that was one thing through my entire time at Cal, especially coming from Tennessee, that I literally felt every single game. But if I had to say the 2 experiences that, like, resonated the most with me, number one, hands down, was that Tennessee game my freshman year. The Tennessee game where we played, Tennessee back home. And if you think about it, right, I'm from Tennessee. I was a Vols fan my entire life, right?
Sure.
And, conveniently, I had actually never been to a Cal football game. On my official visits, I didn't go to any games. That was my first experience, right? And then to see Zach Follett crush Eric Ainge like that, to see Deshaun Jackson take that punt back, that was like, I never experienced anything like that before. Like my hometown team, like friends from back home, my family was there, like the environment. We crushed Tennessee that game. That was like, I'm like literally getting chills right now thinking about it. Still, almost 20 years later, that was by far the best experience I've had in my any kind of athletic career. And I will say the second one, obviously, for a lot of people out there, when Mike Muhammad picked off Andrew Luck at Stanford. Oh, that was amazing. And the reason why that was so great is because I remember very vividly, we were leaving the hotel to go to that game. And you know how like on ESPN it says like America's vote of like the percentage of people that think you're going to win a game or not?
Yes.
America's vote said 90% of America thought we were going to lose that game. So like we were the underdog in that game. They had like Toby Gehar, like all these great athletes, and we went down there and handled our business and came back with a win. So that moment when we picked them off, we rushed the field afterwards. That was an awesome experience.
Yeah, that is some great stuff. You took me right back there. The pain train with Zach Follett bending that guy in half.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right, baby.
That was an amazing game against Tennessee for sure. Now, and I guess you kind of already talked about it, but Jeff Tedford is such a legendary football coach at Cal, right? Do you have any stories in particular about what it was like playing under him?
He was awesome. I think he was just like, the biggest thing is, I think it's really hard to, for that long of a time, be really great and to continuously get great athletes. Like, you think about like the 05, if you all remember, the 05 recruiting class, the 07 recruiting class. My recruiting class, I think of 26 of us, half of us went to the NFL, right? So if you think about like getting that high caliber of athletes and still creating like humility, hardworking attitude, like really being truly golden bears, like he created a culture that made us want to win and continue that down the path for others that are come on board. So I think Tedford just demanded excellence in a great way, and we all respected him for that. We all still reach out to him, we still talk to him, and like given how many athletes he coached for all those years, for him to still answer texts and calls from all of us, like he's just an awesome person all around, and obviously we're reflecting the wins and the experience that we all had at Cal.
That's great. That is great. And then, how excited are you about the current trajectory of the football program?
Well, I will say this. So Wilcox was either on his way out as a GA when I was getting recruited, or he actually might have been on my recruiting trip. But the thing about Wilcox was like, when I was at Cal, the players loved him. Like, so he was like, and I'm sure you all can attest to this, but like for decades, he was like the messiah for Cal football, for us as former athletes, as well as people that are currently on the team. So to see what he's done with our program and to like get us a place where like, I never beat SC. Like, think about how good we were and how like we were top 7 ranked, top 10 ranked, whatever it may be. I never beat SC, and he's done that many times in his tenure here. Like, I love seeing the fact that we're having great athletes, performing at a high level. We're beating top ranked teams like we did with SC, and I feel really good about what we have in place right now. And I think a lot of it is to what he's built and kind of what we all expected he'd do, but it's been cool to see it.
I can tell you, I mean, I'm certainly excited, especially looking ahead to this next season and with the coaching moves that they've made and some of the athletes that they've brought in. I'm super excited. So
we're excited
to see.
Yeah, I'll sort of say this. I know we have another question, but I'm going to jump in here. But I'm not one to ever. It's tough for me going to games and listening to the peanut gallery stand right near you. They just say things out their mouths like marbles dropping out their mouth about coaches and that guy ought to be fired. And internally, I'm giving somebody a bear shake. But externally, I tell them I don't choose to get into that conversation because they have no idea, as we have all been in here as connected to the athletic department, the 4 of us here, they have no idea what the backstories are.
Yeah.
That I always tell people, you can talk about the coach all day. Coaches coach, but players play.
Yep.
Coaches coach, players play. And there's an incredible synergy that comes together when both of those are aligned.
Yep.
And I've said to folks, and this is a shout out, and this is off script, but this is a shout out for women's athletics and for men's athletes, but primarily women's athletes, folks, stop talking about NIL and put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
It has been the women that have held down Cal in championships for years.
Mm-hmm.
It has not been football. It has not been basketball. It has been many of the other, I don't call second tier or third tier, but top tier sports in the world. Football does not make it to the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
It has been all the other teams. So that's a shout out for that. And then again, for those people who talk about NIL and want to ask the coaches after the game why we didn't do what to do, you know what? Stop talking. Put your money where your mouth is. Write the check. That's what other people do. You can't fire people and you don't contribute. Look here. That's not the physics of Cal athletics.
Yep.
That is not how it works. So I appreciate the both of you and what you're doing and being stand-up role models of what it means to be a student at Cal who just happened to be an athlete.
Yep.
And that's real talk. That's from the heart. And I get pretty emotional about that. And Reza knows I get fired up because this is what I talk about to folks who come here. I said, you may get all the money from whatever school across the country, but when you walk in the room, as Marshawn did recently at the Alumni House, and we presented him with an award there, he said, I've gone all over the world, and I've been in different countries that many didn't speak English, but you'll hear in the crowd somebody yell, "Go Bears."
Mm-hmm.
You know what that translates to be. That's Bear territory, baby, all day. So
That's
I'm
right.
very proud of you both.
Well said.
Sorry, boss, Reza, I had to say that.
No,
Well said.
I love it. Well,
You need to talk to my team.
Well, I can tell you, Ahmad is the man. This is what the man lives and breathes each and every day. This is what he's all about.
Love it.
Yeah. And actually he mentioned it a little bit in the sense that you two really represent Cal in everything that you are and how you came to Cal. And what would you tell a prospective recruit about why they should come to Cal? And in your minds, what makes Cal such a special place?
Yeah, okay, I'll go first. I love recruiting, and I think one of the reasons why recruiting kind of is easy, there's two things. I think also, I get to be genuine. I genuinely love this place, and that helps a lot. It'd be really hard to recruit somewhere that I didn't fully believe in. And I also think when recruits come on campus, you're either like, this is my place, or you're like, ooh, I got to get out of here. So it's pretty simple. Come on campus. Look what our campus is like at 12 p.m. in between classes. You can't get more energy and something more alive. We've been talking about getting goosebumps. Go on campus at noon and you'll get those goosebumps. You're going to go and you're going to play a sport and you're going to be on a top 10 program. And then you think that's competitive. You're going to go into a science class. You think the athletes are elite? Go into a science class. Go into a math class. You are among the smartest and most successful of whatever your craft is. You are among the best. You're going to be pushed by people who have different opinions than you that are going to make you grow just as much as that science class. Saying something that someone enlightens you with how that impacts them, that kind of growth is just as valuable. And then Dr. Ty Douglas, he says it the best when he says, Cal is not a country club. And the value that my young females get by signing up for classes at Cal, everything is hard at Cal. And they go out and they are ready to destroy the world because they are equipped with the knowledge of our classes. They are trained by among the best athletes in the world. And then they have this other X factor of just navigating the hardships and the beauty of Cal. Nowhere prepares you for life and to be an ass kicker, part of my language, than Cal.
Yeah, and I'll second that. I think the biggest thing is with whatever you've mentioned it, but literally whatever you want to do, the sky's the limit at Cal. if you want to be a professional athlete, if you want to be an Olympian, the Cal brand athletically means a lot to a lot of organizations and people that are trying to go on the national team, et cetera. So go to Cal, crush it as an athlete, and the sky's the limit. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to get into tech, if you want to get into whatever you want to do, the fact that you're graduating from Cal and a stack of 500 applications, yours is going to go to the top because it's the number one public university in the world, then that's what you get from Cal. So being at a university where, like, truly, and a lot of places say this, but it's not always the case, but truly, if you commit to something and you work hard at it, the opportunity is endless. And you can't really beat that, right? And I just think about, like, both of our times here, right? I played football. I had a brief stint afterwards professionally, which, everyone tries it out. You do the best you can. But, like, when I finished, literally within, a week or two after finishing, because of my Cal degree, the network of people I talked to, I started a new career and I've been thriving there since. So there are a lot of schools that don't have that kind of opportunity for athletes, and Cal does it. And as a result, you can reap the benefits from it.
Amen. Say it again. That is for real.
Man, you guys, I mean, record that and put it right there on the front page of the website for the university. That was pretty damn good.
I don't know if you guys have been around the Cameron Institute at all, but that has been huge for our student athletes as well. The Golden Bear Network, like, we had a lot when we were student athletes, but now this idea of, like, career readiness, there are classes that my athletes can take 4 units where they write a resume, they create a LinkedIn profile, they do mock interviews, and that is like what we all dreamt of having a class for, like real life skills that is only for student athletes at Cal. They have career mentors that an advisor pairs them with. And this is something, I mean, again, the Cameron Institute is leading the country in terms of, like, the level of care for the entire student athlete. And so that is just like a whole new level of opportunity for these athletes.
We love this, but I got to say to you, what we always ask our great guests that come on, share with us your Bear Territory moment. It could have been before you got here. It could have been during the time you were there. It could have been moments like now after being out where you said, and it just resonated from head to toe that this was the Bear Territory moment for you. And look, you're not going to be the only one that says, everybody says, gosh, there's a lot. But share with me what that could be for you. You might have a couple. Let the people know. Share it with the people.
This might be a bit sappy, but I'm just gonna kind of put it out there. So, obviously, like, we are a Bear family, right? But, like, I'm, like, getting a little emotional thinking about it. But, like, being at one of her games when she beat Stanford, her parents are there. They both ran track at Cal. She's there. I'm there. Our kids are there. Like, see them in Cal gear, like. That is literally the definition of Bear Territory for me. It's like, I came out to this school from Tennessee. I stuck here. I built my family here with Meagan, my amazing wife, my kids, my in-laws. That is, like, the definition of Bear Territory for me. I can't, that feeling you can't replicate anywhere else.
Go ahead, Meagan. You can speak now.
So there you go.
I mean, ditto that. but that same weekend we also beat SC. So let's just add it was Stanford and SC. just to clarify.
That is amazing.
Heck yeah.
You guys got me a little emotional, and I've been sitting here and I'm just smiling, and I can't stop smiling because, I mean, just to hear your stories and to be able to finally meet you guys are just so much fun. We meant for this to only be about a half hour. We've gone way over, but couldn't help ourselves because you guys are just so much fun to talk to.
Yeah.
And hey, we just really appreciate you both making the time. And hey, I look forward to catching some of your games here for the end of the season, and look forward to seeing what you can do, because it looks like a pretty special team. And
thank you.
And thank you so much, Coach, and thank you, Ernest. And I still don't know how the heck you do it. And you guys look pretty darn good raising those triplets. And you know, at 9 o'clock at night, you guys still look like you You got it all together.
Lies.
We know you're probably just holding up by a stick.
You should, if we panned this camera around, you'd be like, ooh.
That is awesome. Well, hey, I guess we'll just end it the way that we always end it. And thank you again. Good luck the rest of the way there, Coach. And
Thank
go
you.
Bears.
Awesome. Go Bears. Thank you. See you guys.
Right,
have a good night.
blessings.
We had such a good time talking with the Owusus. What an awesome Cal family. And I don't know much of anything about their 3 children, but if I were in charge of recruiting, you'd better believe I'd offer each of them a scholarship right now. Before we begin to wrap things up on this episode, I want to thank Kenneth Berner, a sturdy Golden Bear if ever there was one, for bringing it to our attention that Cal running back Javion the Jet Thomas will launch his inaugural youth football camp this Saturday, March 29th, at McClymonds High School from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The camp is free to kids age 6 to 13. That's going to do it for this week's episode. This podcast is entirely a labor of love, and we've never had any sponsorship. All of the time and energy that we put into it is simply a reflection of how much we love our university. If you're enjoying these podcasts, I'd like to ask each of you out there to email your closest Cal friends and send them a link to tellthewholedamnworld.com. We've updated our website to make it easier than ever for people to figure out how to stream our episodes or watch on YouTube. You can also follow us on X, better known as Twitter, under Win4Cal. That's Win, the number 4, Cal. The more viewers and listeners we have, the easier it will be for other Cal fans to find us. I say it all the time, but we sincerely appreciate all of you out there listening and watching. Next week, we are thrilled to sit down with 2 of the most passionate Golden Bears of all time, Ron and Stephanie Rivera. I'm sure most of you have already heard about this Cal power couple, with Ron recently being hired as the general manager of the football program and Stephanie on the board of directors for the Cal Legends Collective. It's certain to be a great time as we get to know them both a lot better. So tell all your friends to tune in. See you next week. This podcast is about celebrating all things Cal and the prominent people who are passionate about the University of California. Do you feel Cal is the center of the universe? Do you bleed blue and gold? We want you to tell the whole damn world about it. Go Bears!